Psychopaths don't retreat when the truth surfaces. And if you pay attention to the patterns, it becomes clear that they rely on scapegoating and narrative reversal as core tactics. They consistently underestimate their targets. And in my case, in this case, with this group of tarot readers, when operating in mobs, they convince themselves that numbers equal power. But that belief exists only within their distorted reality. Because in truth, 1,000 powerless people weaponizing misinformation and distortion is not strength. It is evidence of weakness. Let's take a closer look at this reading. It states that everyone involved in stealing from you, harming you, and maintaining a false narrative is being exposed. Now, consider the cover image of this content. She used a clock, dressed like a thief, quoting, "Time is a thief." In the context of gang stalking, covert assassination often takes the form of subtle harassment through symbolism and symbols that imply your involvement in their crimes. Because in their narrative, you are cast as the villain. And in this case, the video appears to frame time as the villain. So anyone familiar with my content knows that I have spoken extensively about time. Viewed narrowly, this might seem coincidental. But when you step back and look at the broader pattern, the intentional triggering tactics become clearer in the role of illegal surveillance. Cyberstalking starts to make sense. To revisit what has unfolded so far, I previously shared evidences from whistleblowers within this community who have spoken out about the coordinated harassment involving tarot readers, specifically claims of paid tarot readers spreading false narratives. And some whistleblowers have even stated that the so-called coven, often referred as, in fact, the tarot readers themselves, and that the evil that they repeatedly warn about is actually their own behavior. The motive is simple. It is a psychopathic group attempting to evade accountability by scapegoating their target and projecting their actions outward, all in the pursuit of profit. It is deception driven by money. Now let's examine her story. So in her story, she describes someone or a group trying to fade into the dark, presenting themselves as innocent while harboring intent to deliberately harm a victim. In this group's recurring pattern, their so-called victim in their stories is always someone that they publicly elevate and claim to protect. So in the narrative, this figure, this villain, is now being exposed and is watching the real victim closely. She further frames a scenario where the villain seeks contact with the victim, allegedly to confess, request mercy, or orchestrate a cover-up in order to avoid accountability or karma. This villain wants to be perceived as innocent while actively targeting an innocent person and is seeking another possession, hiding within someone else's energy and distancing themselves from a group that they once collaborated with. So the story continues with accusations of theft, stealing someone's work, creativity, and destiny. Attempting to alter the victim's path, creating drama, accusing the victim of addiction, suppressing the victim, while positioning themselves as the lead. This is a familiar narrative pattern, which is why I won't go further into the reading because it's an old trick and it's pure bullshit. So objectively speaking, this group has a documented history of crafting stories about others, particularly claims of addiction. Yet in this version, in her reading, those actions are symbolically reassigned to time. Time is positioned as the antagonist. Blame for chaos, distortion, and harm. While the group claims victimhood. So when she references someone or a group pretending to be innocent, well, it is their group pretending to be innocent. So when she speaks of someone watching the target, it is likely their group. Especially given that they use time symbolically to use as a covert assassination. It is most likely them doing illegal surveillance. So when she references someone or a group pretending to be innocent, the most logical interpretation, based on observable patterns or repeated coincidences, is that she is describing herself and her group. I openly observe and analyze these individuals as well. So technically, I'm watching them. But the only difference is that there's nothing covert about my approach. I state my observations directly and rely on discernment, not implication. So when they said that someone is trying to fade in the dark, while reframing my silence or restraint as evidence of guilt is manipulation and not truth. And remaining quiet for a reason is not an admission of wrongdoing. It is often clarity and self-control. So to reframe it as being guilty is just pure evil. So let us look at a post from another reader. She said in her post, if you dealt with karmic energies that were trying to cloak your energy or keep you hidden while they stole from you because they wanted to receive an opportunity and credit for your work, karmics are being seen in their true form and energy of fraudulence. Their attacks and sabotage to block and slow you down while they plagiarized and replicated your work for profit has been seen very clearly. And they have all shown and proven that they are not trustworthy or honest people, as they were just to selfishly benefit of it while trying to block the original creator from benefiting of their own hard work. And that's wickedly selfish. Now going back to the other reader. The other reader mentioned about someone is hiding behind someone else's energy. Then this other reader mentioned the same about karmic energies trying to cloak their energy while stealing from someone because they wanted the credit. But considering these tarot readers are both saying the same things in a specific timeline, this can be a systematic thievery, especially when they're trying to antagonize time and making someone else take the credit, which is their victim in their stories. All I know is that I don't profit from any of this, and my videos barely get any likes because of the nature of this work. And I know the enemies that I'm dealing with and the corruption happening right now. So what are they talking about when they said something about cloaking on someone else's energy while trying to steal from the original? Here's an example. There's a tarot reader who posted this today saying, there are so many innocent people in prison that these cults or covens have set up to cover their crimes. Knowing that the cults and covens are these tarot readers themselves, them posting this as if they were trying to create an illusion that their fight is against these cults and covens, trying to make this as their purpose. When they are the real perpetrators, they simply cannot, especially when they are the perpetrators. You will often see karmic tarot readers trying to post about some drama that they were being targeted or hacked when we all know that it is them. So stealing someone's work looks like this. She portrayed to be the spiritually enlightened individual, having many followers in this YouTube platform. And because people are just blind, they couldn't see the deception. So this individual created so much triangulating bullshit and gained so much clout over antagonizing someone who's never a villain. Now, these frauds, of course, are always telling on themselves, but only a few can actually see and would wanna see. And most of the time, you'd see cues and clues in their posts, such as this individual always posting something like wearing a crown. Always trying to portray herself to be bigger, better than another. So people didn't see the narcissism. What people doesn't know is that this individual is trying to target a person that she was antagonizing in all of her narratives. Now, the truth of the situation is that the villain transformed all of this covert harassment, all the pain and suffering for her betterment, making her the true alchemist. While the spiritual fraud, who's just one of many, created a book about alchemy to sell. Well, you cannot, especially when you brought so much suffering onto someone else's life. Another example is that it's a self-proclaimed prophet, has a big number of followers, and made a lot of triangulating bullshit as well, where she was antagonizing one and elevating the other one. But with this particular individual, there's a lot of people claiming that this individual is involved in gang stalking and is a witch. So aside from creating all those narratives, I confronted this individual because when I was dealing with a specific experience, dealing with warlocks, she then created a reading about her experience with warlocks. And as I'm experiencing this whole ordeal of persecution, this gang stalking, she then created and advertised about a book or a content about persecution. And all of this cannot be denied because everything has a digital footprint. And let us be reminded of those multiple tarot readers having the same narratives, antagonizing the famous Queen of Wands with claims that she doesn't know anything about spirituality and had to repeat it all throughout the reading. While all the while, the same readers are trying their best to claim spiritual authority. Another karmic tarot reader creating narratives that are based on triangulation. So same old shit. Saying that this villain did this to a friend. Then, the same tarot reader claiming herself to be an autistic empath. So what's another example of this? Like Joker, trying to mirror my experiences in claiming all those as his, and that he's the one seeing the patterns and is trying to defeat LOL, while at the same time claiming that she's toxic. And because you were outnumbered and them working their slaves 24/7 to discredit you, all people hate you for what you allegedly did to someone that you didn't, but was actually being done to you by the psychopaths. So as you were paying a karmic debt that is not even yours, they were profiting out of an essence that is not even theirs. Then after all this mindfuckery, the same tarot readers begin speaking about energetic forgery. As if they were not the ones engaging in themselves. This is a more advanced form of psychological manipulation and gaslighting. Patterns that is commonly seen in narcissistic and psychopathic dynamics. And this is what is meant by cloaking oneself in another's energy while attempting to erase or undermine the original source. These people and what they claim to be, it's not their essence. And do you know what is protecting these individuals? Is that energy. This is what destiny thief is that I never thought I'll be dealing with in life. You see, originality does not emerge from groups. Origin. It comes from individual insight, vision, and lived experience. not from collective imitation or coordinated replication. In that sense, the numbers itself already reveal the truth. Originality is singular, while replication is collective. Understand this, as long as the star readers continue operating in the same way, the corruption remains intact. Many people have noticed a recurring pattern. Years of readings predicting that, someone else will face legal consequences. Yet, no one really goes to jail. No such accountability ever materializes. That contradiction alone raises an important question about where responsibility actually lies. Maybe it's this karmic tarot readers that needs to go to jail and is about to go to jail. When whistleblowers and former participants come forward, along with individuals who describe themselves as past victims of tarot gang stalking, it becomes harder to dismiss these concerns as coincidence. Their accounts point to a broader, more organized pattern of manipulation and exploitation, one driven by profit rather than truth or integrity. And this suggests non-isolated misconduct but systemic corruption operating behind spiritual language and online platforms. And what makes this especially troubling is that the way spiritual authority is sometimes weaponized. In some cases, religious language or references to God are used as a shield, an aesthetic of righteousness that masks unethical behavior, or rather criminal, and discourages questioning. When faith is used as armor for deception, it becomes a powerful tool for silencing doubt and sustaining exploitation. And at that point, the issue is no longer about tarot or spirituality itself, but about accountability, transparency, and the harm caused when belief systems are manipulated for personal gain. Time doesn't steal. People do. Time unfolds truth and exposes the thief.